How do you lie to your clients on national TV? And like, are they claiming they're innocent? Please tell me they're saying they didn't do anything wrong. I'm sure that's like the MO for everybody,
Oh, of
right?
course not.
I didn't do
It
anything.
wasn't lying. It was just salesmanship.
Welcome to the Real Estate Replay. I'm Wendy Gilch, an industry outsider here to reveal the hidden practices and explain the processes that can impact your next home purchase or sale. Alongside other industry misfits, we'll call out these poor practices and equip home buyers and sellers with insights they need to protect themselves every step of the way. I'm super glad that we are meeting today, Fred, because, we have talked many times. We always share emails back and forth about stuff going on in the industry. And there is so much going on that I thought it would be good to do like a what to watch out for in 2025 for home buyers or home sellers, because nobody really knows what will happen administration wise, CFPB, holding people accountable, making sure companies aren't screwing over consumers. Like nobody knows what will happen because the administration coming in doesn't seem to focus too much on that. That's as far as I'll go about politics on there. But I thought it would be good to kind of highlight a few issues that you and I talk about all the time to help give consumers a better idea of what to watch out for to protect themselves. We've talked many times before, but many people might not know who you are. So if Fred, you can give like a 2-minute recap of, because I should phrase that Fred is on the outsider loop with me on the industry. He has a non-traditional brokerage, as you would call it. He's always looking out for consumers, but he sees a lot of the stuff that I don't get privy to all the time, and he always shares it with me. So thank you for that. But anyways, give just like a 2-minute about you, Arrivva, and how you got into this.
Sure. I've been hanging around the real estate business pretty much all my life. My parents were both brokers. My mother was one of the first brokers in Pennsylvania as a female.
Ah,
But after college, I went to work for a guy who started buying apartment buildings. And I started running that and running the finances, running the real estate. And next thing you know, he was kind of done. So I moved on. I got into the residential mortgage business. Then I looked at all these deals that were coming in and realizing these real estate agents had no idea what they were doing, and this was too easy. So I got into both. So I've been doing residential stuff since the 90s, basically. And what I have for the last coming up on 10 years now is a brokerage that is a flat rate. So we've been rebating. I don't even add it up, but we've got over rebated over millions of dollars so far in buyer broker fees. And so we do a flat fee for both buyers, sellers, and on a mortgage. And that's a whole different story. But yeah, I'm all about the consumer. I'm all about the technology. We make life easier with our clients. Everybody's on Slack. But I keep my eye out, and I'm getting old, and I bitch about everything because I can. And we want this. We're just trying to help consumers know what the facts are, because whatever facts are these days. Um,
well, depending on who puts the article out, right? Even
exactly.
like the commissions, there were 3 reports that came out about commissions post settlement, post August. 2 of them were like, oh, commissions are coming down within the past 2 months. Look how much they've dropped. And then another one was like, nope, commissions are all the same. Nothing's changed. And I was like, how do you change the data that much to it's almost like they don't want the narrative to be one thing. So let's pull up the facts to make it
Right.
look like it's not. So yeah, I mean it's super important. Like how do you get like an unbiased recap, or like how do you understand what to do, because your information coming at you depends on like what that person wants to sell you.
And here's the biggest problem. And I've literally heard this because I have my people actually go and pretend they're buyers or sellers and talk to other agencies. Do it all the time just to
Mhm.
see what's going on and just to see what their words are. So for a prospective seller, we keep hearing, no one's going to show your house unless you pay 2.5% buyer broker fee. Nobody's going to show it. Which is incredible, because what do people do? You go to Zillow, you go to Redfin, you look at the open house, you go to the open house. What did you need an agent to tell you about a house? They're still living in 1995, when we used to have a book that came out once a week, and we were the guardians of the listings until the newspapers came out on Sunday and listed the open houses. It's not like that anymore. Buyers are smarter. Buyers are getting pre-approved before they go see a house. Maybe not fully underwritten, but at least they're getting prepared. So the agent doesn't even need to tell you that. My other thing about this is not about commissions, but I love to throw this out. They also tell sellers you need a local agent. Without a local agent, you're not going to be able to sell the property, which is crap. Like, what are they going to tell you? Where the coffee shop is? It's called Google. They've been replaced by Google and Redfin and Zillow. And, they all complain about Zillow, but you know what? Like the line in the Facebook movie, if you would have thought of Facebook, you would have done Facebook or whatever that line is. So they
Right.
didn't do it. And they got realtor.com, and realtor.com is amazing. There's a lifetime agreement between Move or whoever owns it
So it's
now
News Corp.
and the
News
realtors.
Corp. Right.
News Corp. They own it. It's in perpetuity, although it can be renewed every 10 years or something, but that's just the check up on thing. It's a lifetime thing. I
Who
get
would
leads
agree to
sometimes from that site. This is the best. And they
that?
said review us on Google Plus, which hasn't been around for 5 years. So it's like the junior varsity. It's just they don't get it. I can't even remember
Right.
the question that you asked now, but it's still
I see. This is what happens. This is why email is so good for us because we stay on task. Because once we start
yeah,
talking, it's like
exactly.
boom, 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 boom. But yeah, I think it's funny
Exactly.
to go back to that. If you don't offer, no one will show your home. I can't tell you how many times people are like, "That doesn't happen. That's not true." And I'm like, "Yes, it does." And that's people saying stuff like that is what's going to get the DOJ to finally be like, all right, forget it. Nobody can pay the other side. Just negotiate it between each other because nobody seems to want to be able to do it the right way.
Here's what's going on. You mentioned, with the new government taking place on January 20th, let's all remember this. Real estate licenses are not national, they're by
Mhm.
state. So you're going to see the states, let's call them the blue states for fun, uh, who have their departments of real estate or whatever regulating things. They have state laws that everybody has to follow. You got to pass a state test. Yeah, there's a federal part of it, but everything is regulated by the state. So the states need to get nasty about this. There's some states where dual agency isn't allowed. There's some states where no one other than a licensed person can receive any part of the commission. So, like in Oregon, I
Right.
can't give a rebate to a buyer. So I think it's going to be more on the states to do this, and we'll see how they do it
Yeah, but the
case to
problem
case.
is the state commission boards are mostly realtors.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah.
So it's
So
like regulating
they also
themselves.
lobby,
Hmm.
you know, they still have PAC money on the
Yeah.
state level. There
Oh,
might
yeah.
not be as many realtors, but there's plenty.
Which the PAC money on the state level, so their contributions to political groups or political people, is harder to figure out on the state level than it is like what NAR contributes to. And I know like Doug Miller's been talking about that. Like he'd love to be able to dig in and figure out where these state associations are contributing money to. But God, hey, damn it, this is on my list too, the DOJ. Okay, let's pause because there's so many things and I could go down the rabbit hole of the
You're
Department
in
of Justice.
charge, Wendy. You're in charge.
I know, but I just there's so much to talk about, and it's rare. Like normally when I talk to people, it's like a real estate agent or a mortgage lender. So like you have your hands on all the things, so you kind of see everything. So that's why I'm excited about this. But all right, so you mentioned dual agency, and I think that is the first one I want to talk about because you and I were just talking about this. There is a lawsuit in New York State that has been around since 2018 that hasn't really gotten enough publicity, in my opinion. Like, not many people were talking about it. And I think now that the dust has settled on the antitrust lawsuit, this class action lawsuit might get more attention. And it is in New York State versus Houlihan Lawrence in Connecticut and New York. They have like 1,300 agents, or they did at the time. And this lawsuit is claiming they did 10,000 dual agency transactions in 7 years. So they were representing the seller and buyer. And I use the word represent loosely because in dual agency, you're really not representing anybody. But I wanted to read one of the things that came from this lawsuit. because it's going to be interesting to connect it to another thing we're going to talk about, which is pocket listings. And in this lawsuit, there's different quotes from people. One was Pamela Goldstein. She's one of the head people on the plaintiff side. Claims in dual agency, she was pressured to ignore problems identified in an inspection report and to pay $37,000 more than the initial asking price in 2017 when she bought a home for $637,000. Ellen and Tony claim that Houlihan Lawrence failed to publicly list their White Plains home of their deceased mother in 2014. Instead, marketing it internally to its agents, the house sold for $479,000, well below the sale price of comparable properties. And another person who was a buyer says that the $1.6 million he paid in 2016 for a house in Bedford was $125,000 above list price. All of those people use the same broker to on the buy side and the sell side. I don't know how in 7 years someone has 10,000 dual agency transactions. I did the math on that. What would that be?
I
10,000
don't know,
times.
divided by the number.
That's
Figure
like
20% of the agents are active. You probably did most of the deals too. That's what makes an amazing number.
right. Quick math: 10,000 dual agency transactions in about 7 years would be a little over 1,400 dual agency transactions a year for a brokerage that has about 1,300 agents, which seems like huge to me. But I know with all these lawsuits that have come and gone for antitrust, a lot of people are saying dual agency is going to be on the rise, and I don't think any of them are paying attention to this lawsuit. So, in your opinion, what do you think sellers and buyers should know about dual agency?
Would you have a lawyer prosecute and defend you at the same time?
Right.
That's exactly what dual agency is. You have the agent has zero loyalty, uh, only to money. That's
Mhm.
pretty much it. Yes, there have been dual agent deals over the years where you've had reputable people who've actually done it. Uh, if someone approaches us like this for a dual agency situation where we don't have the seller and there's no one represented the buyer, we beg the buyer to go get representation, or we do a non-representation agreement. We don't represent the buyer; he's making his own decisions. That's the easy way to figure this out. But dual agency means you go into an open house. Let's say you say, I don't want this house. And the agent says, oh, I'll be happy to represent you. And they end up writing the contract. The agent negotiates with the seller, negotiates with the buyer, and the deal goes through. But you have no idea what happens. You're not privy to the conversation between the seller and the agent, except if you're on television. So I want to bring this up because now I'm remembering this.
Yeah, yeah.
There are these guys that are on television and have some fancy show in Los Angeles. We probably all know who it is. I've barely ever seen these things. And it was like accidentally it was on. And I was watching the guy literally talking to the buyer on the phone and then literally lying to the seller and then going back and lying to the buyer. All he was doing was lying to try to get the deal done. And guess what? This broker makes both sides of the commission. So remember the commission structure. An agency charges you to list their home, and then we've had all this stuff with the buyer broker fee that you probably all know about. So this was all before the lawsuit, but I'm
Mhm.
sure they're doing the same thing.
See, I couldn't the article that you sent me about these people. I don't want to use their name because I don't want to go too far, but like
Oh, I'll use it. It's the
how are
Altman
you?
brothers. So,
Okay, so the Altman brother, like, how do you lie to your clients on national TV? And like, are they claiming they're innocent? Please tell me they're saying they didn't do anything wrong. I'm sure that's like the MO for everybody,
oh, of
right?
course not.
I didn't do
It
anything.
wasn't lying. It was just salesmanship.
Oh, it's all disclosed, which I felt like.
It's all in the disclosures. Yeah.
But here's what I wonder, like, and you see these in the lawsuits. Something might be disclosed on paper, but I think it's how the agent or the broker is explaining something is what's getting people in trouble, right? Because that Houlihan Lawrence, they're like, we did nothing wrong, everything was disclosed. But like all the people in this lawsuit were like, I didn't know that they weren't representing me anymore, or like, I had no idea that not listing my home on the market would have probably made me a lot more money. They just told me, here's a good deal, you should take it. And it was inside within the brokerage. So I think consumers have to be really careful, like getting an explanation as to why you're being advised to do something a certain way.
It's like you or me going and walking into a company and saying all of a sudden, you know what, you're now a chemical engineer. We want you to develop this product. And you and I are like hobbita, 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 hobbita. We don't
Yeah.
know what we're doing. But people, for some reason, they jump into real estate. They've never bought a house before, but they know everything. They've read everything. They chat GPT'd everything. I have buyers sometimes, they go right to the listing agent. Oh, I'll get a better deal that way. And it's not. Actually, you're going to get a worse deal because they're laughing at you internally because they know exactly how to manipulate you. So you gotta you gotta go to a buyer broker who knows what they're doing, and you got to feel really comfortable with them, and you got to understand the words that they're saying. Ask questions. Hopefully, they say the words transparency, full disclosure, happy to review anything with you. And here's a little tip: throw things into any forms you get, anything. Throw it into Chat GPT and basically say, hey, can you explain this in plain English to someone who's
Mhm.
not in the real estate business? What am I signing? What are they asking for? It'll tell you. Because
Mhm.
what happens is you're going to get listing agreements, you're going to get buyer broker agreements that are going to be written by the agency. And there's all kinds of, they got a 17-page one, and there's all kinds of little things buried in there. You don't know what they
Mhm.
are. You have
Yeah.
no idea. So do that. Throw it into AI because that's going to help you a lot. Um, but you know,
Or
you
get an
get into
attorney. I mean, at this
yeah. I
point.
mean, we have a guy who's has his license and is an attorney. He's a full-time attorney, really, with a
Mhm.
license. And so when we have issues, we have questions, we send it over to him. I pay
Yeah.
for it because it's totally
Yeah.
worth it to get the right answers. The real estate business is divided into two sets of people: people who like to sleep at night and people who are taking Ambien.
Yep. Yep. Oh, this stupid industry.
It is. It is.
Going back to dual agency, I think, as a buyer, where you might run into this is if you start off being unrepresented and like you're going to an open house, right? Or you are having the listing agent show you a home. If they're coming up to you saying, "Hey, like I can, represent you and the seller, I'll cut my commission a little bit if we can get this deal done." Once you agree to dual agency, like you can't just like change your mind. You know what I mean? Like you're too far down the rabbit hole to be like, oh, wait, I do want my own representation now because you've already signed stuff.
I disagree. You can fire them.
You can
I mean,
fire
it's
them,
just
but they already know all your cards, right? They know what you can afford. They know all that stuff. And so then, like, if you back out a dual agency, they have all the dirt on you. They still
well,
know.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is what I tell all my clients. I said, we're going to get you a fully underwritten mortgage pre-approval. And I can't stress that more. Don't just get a regular approval because the lenders have no idea about
Mm.
negotiating real
It's
estate.
basically
So
a
if you
piece of paper. Yep.
exactly, it's toilet paper. So if you get the fully underwritten mortgage pre-approval, I tell you to get it for the absolute maximum you qualify for. So if you're looking at a $700,000 house, but you can afford a million two, get that $1,200,000 approval. Why? Because with the right agent, it's not about, hey, they qualify for more, so let's jack them up in price. It's no, you get yourself an agent who will just say, that's all we're paying. See you later. Learn how
Mhm.
to ghost people. There's little nuances with having a buyer broker who understands psychology and understands the other agents are all basically trained the same. They all go to Tom Ferry
They all have the same
seminars and learn
scripts. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all the same scripts. I love when I get a buyer who says, hey, I love using you guys because I talked to 5 agents and 3 of them told me the exact same thing, literally the same lines.
Hmm.
So that's all they have to show their value, whatever it is. Um, but yeah, you just get a good negotiator for it. It's like getting a good lawyer if you have to go to court. I mean, you get out of these contracts. Contracts were persuaded, they didn't explain dual agency and the negatives of dual agency to you, you can absolutely positively get out of the contract. So, like the movie, get out.
Yeah. They're still going to know all your stuff though. That's the
Yeah,
crappy
but
part.
the right agent can get around that. All
True.
they're going to
That's
know
true.
is what you. Oh, the worst. The other thing I tell people when you go to an open house, go there. The one you love the most, go on the very first day at the very first minute. If there's 100 people there, you know it's going to go crazy. It's like we had one
Mhm.
in Mountain View. It's a grandma house for listed $1.9 million, went for over 3 million. It's just insanity. But also go there and just act disinterested. Don't let them remember you, especially if there's not a lot of people there. Because these agents, I mean, we get these texts and emails. Oh, your client came on Tuesday, and do you have any questions? Well, if we had questions, we would have
We would
asked
have,
you.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like we never respond to them. So they look like, oh, they probably left. And then we come in with an offer when we come in. Just stay on your side of the fence.
Right.
But that never helped. Following up like that never helped make a sale. So I can't even remember where. Again, we
Well,
went down this rabbit hole again.
because I gave you like 7 things I wanted to talk about, and we
I know.
covered 6 of them briefly already. But okay, so dual agency, don't do
Yeah,
it. I
don't
mean,
do it.
don't. It's not worth it. I mean, in the list of your 3 choices to be represented, be unrepresented, or use dual agency would be on the bottom of my list here.
Yeah,
Because
and
you're not.
let's jump right in right now because this ties together with these companies that want to have their own listings and
Oh,
their
pocket listings.
own
Yes.
pocket
One
listings
in
or
particular.
preferred listings or
Right.
some crap like that.
Right, which was addressed in this Houlihan Goldstein lawsuit, specifically from what I read earlier about the couple that ended up selling their house internally, wasn't even listed on the market, and then they're like, "Wait a minute, like we lost out on a ton of equity," and that probably wasn't explained to them.
Yeah.
So
Now,
yeah, there is one brokerage in particular who believes they claim that making sellers list their home on the MLS and publicly is harmful to them. But the reality is, on the earnings calls of this big brokerage, they want to build a website bigger and better than anyone else that has more properties available that you can't find anywhere else. So they basically want to use your listing to bait in more clients. And it's not about your home seller rights, it's really about them making more money.
right, and
In my opinion, I'm sure,
right,
not that
and
they'd be listening
they
to this, but I mean, I said it on
and
stage at PMLS. I mean, if they're mad at me
yeah,
for it,
it's Compass.
yeah, yes,
Okay, they are just trying to be the dual agency kings. There's a company in San Francisco called Vanguard. I knew somebody who went there for a few weeks, and she said the biggest thing was they were pushing dual agency at every sales meeting.
hmm
Let's do this. Let's do it off market. And I also get all these emails from these developers. Hey, I'm looking for a property that's off market, and I'll pay you an extra 1%. It's like, no, why would, if I had a property that was about to list, why would I just give it to you as a developer?
right,
There's 50 developers out there. Okay. You're
right.
not the only dude, but Compass is trying to do this. They're trying to recruit. They just bought Corcoran,
Oh,
parts of
properties
it.
or
I don't
something.
know. Something, I don't know, another 50,000 agents, but
Right.
they want to build this network. So they're going to advertise, I guess, that this is the only place to really find houses, and you're going to find special deals here, and you have to sign up to be able to get access through an
Mhm.
agent. I mean, no,
Yeah,
no. Why do you think Zillow was so popular and Trulia? Because they opened everything up. You
right.
didn't need to go to an agent anymore. So they're reverting back to 1950s way of doing it vis-a-vis the internet, and they think they're going to recruit agents because of it. And they're also out there saying, oh, we have to pay more as a listing agent now because it's harder and we have to do more. And
Oh, stop, stop,
stop.
stop. Oh,
Exactly.
there's a group.
And here's what I feel bad for sellers because they're usually older and they're not kind of tuned into everything that's going on. And I would advise their kids to start saying, Mom, Dad, no. Get
Yeah,
them involved in the house sale and let them do some research and search out the right people.
Yep.
And don't sell it just to the first person that shows up before you put it listed. Oh, I have this great buyer and they're fully underwritten and approved and they close in 15 days. It all sounds great, but they're going to pay 100 grand less.
Yep.
So
Howard Hanna in my area has their own little exclusives. I don't know what they call it. And a friend of mine interviewed to be one of their like office managers. And she said, listen, like the one thing that I'm not comfortable with is your exclusive program because you guys really push that. And he said, well, really, what's the hurt? Like the seller doesn't have to really deal with putting their home on the market and they get a good deal out of it and the buyer gets a good deal and everybody wins. And I was like, she's like, no, that's no. Like maybe that's what you're explaining to
it's
a home
fast and easy
seller.
for them.
Right. And this was about a year or so ago when like in our market's still not tanking out yet. And it was like pretty popular still when this conversation happened. And I'm like, are they even explaining to sellers like you're missing out on a whole bunch of buyers and they're just making it sound so good? So I think about this Houlihan Lawrence lawsuit and specifically how this home seller was like, they didn't explain it to me. Like they had me sell within the brokerage. I shouldn't say they had me. They were encouraged to sell within the brokerage and not list the home. And it's funny because these people that are so high on pocket listings and you know, I don't want to see a damn word out of their mouth about how these lawsuits are horrible for home buyers because pocket listings are just as detrimental for home buyers, especially in areas that maybe are of a certain demographic. And pocket listings occur that really can leave out people of other demographics. So you don't get like a hall pass here. Like if you're going to promote pocket listings, that's just as bad as anything you're saying about any NAR settlement, and you're making it worse, pretty much. My
Oh, I
opinion.
think they're going to be very quiet, very quiet, because there's
Oh,
nothing they can do. So they'll just keep pounding the individual owners and the older owners and send them stuff and call them. Can we stop door knocking and phone
oh.
calling, please?
Who
I mean, it's
who answers the door for people that they don't? Which oh Jesus, do I need to share this? Speaking of door knocking, there's a Reddit subgroup. I think it was on Reddit or was it a face? I think it was a Facebook group, and they were talking about door knocking. And this lady said, "I got myself one of these like motorized scooters, so I don't have to do all the walking, but it makes me look so much less threatening when I ring the doorbell on my scooter." And two other people were like, "Oh, can you send me the scooter?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are we gonna fake a disability so that someone will answer the door for you? Like what I don't know who answers the door anyways, but whether you're on a scooter or you're standing there, I'm not going to answer the door for you, or I'll talk to you through my ring
yeah.
doorbell and tell you to go
It's
away."
it's the mid 2020s. Do not answer the door at all
Ooh,
unless you know
nope,
who it is.
no,
Period. Done. End of sentence.
no, not doing it. Not
And get
happening.
yourself on the do not call list, although they ignore that. But
Oh yeah, the do not call list and the damn it, we're so off track. But the do not call list, there's a couple states that have their own as well. And if someone keeps bothering you, it's easier to report people and get them in trouble through the state than it is the national registry. But it's also worth saying that opt out pre-screen is very good
mhm,
for buyers and do it like a month in advance. They say a week, but apparently that's not enough so that the credit bureaus cannot sell your information when you're applying for a mortgage because they will literally see that you're applying for a mortgage, turn around and sell your data to like
everybody.
multiple
Yeah.
lenders, and you will get calls all day long for 3 days straight and then weeks on end. People will be calling you and some of them pretend that they are with your mortgage lender and they're not. And there was supposed to be something passed to block them. They're called trigger leads, which, as I read most recently, it's not going to go through. So opt out pre screen, do not call list, do not answer your door. Damn it, we were talking about dual agency. Look at us. We're so off track. That's okay. Oh, pocket listings. We're talking about pocket listings.
Yes.
Um, so let's talk about this from a buyer. If someone is telling you they have access to more properties than anyone else, call their bluff and ask them to prove it. Show me before I sign with you. Show me the properties that you quote unquote have access to that I can't see unless I work with you. Number two, if you are being pushed to do a pocket listing as a seller, you are not going to have that many buyers see your home. You might get end up pushed into dual agency unless you have some sort of privacy issue. I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, here's an example. And it's just one of many, but we had a client last week. We made an offer on a property in Washington State. It wasn't an offer date. It was just, offers as they come. We made an offer. The seller made a ridiculous counter. Like they wanted 2-day inspections and all kinds of stuff. So we just ghosted them. And the agent comes back to me like 2 weeks later, says like, well, are your people still interested? Okay. So we submitted the same contract we submitted. Guess what? We got it for the lower price. We got 5 days for the inspection period. We had some other things we didn't want them to do. We said, this is it. As is offer, take it or leave it. Well, you don't have that situation in a pocket listing because they're already trying to pump you. Even if it's the same brokerage and not the same broker within the company, they're colluding. They're conspiring and they know where they want to get and they just want to make it easy. They want to make easy money. And remember this, every buyer before they become a buyer should go and interview to become a real estate agent. Okay, this is a new one. I just thought of this. This is great. So you can see the first thing they're going to talk about is how much money you can make. So at that point, do not use this brokerage because it's all about the money. It's not about the transparency. It's not about helping people.
Are you saying buyers should ask that question? Like, oh, what's it like being a real estate agent? I was thinking about doing it. The answer will be, you should. I'll help you. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. But it'll tell you, oh, you can.
There's 1.5 million realtors. What's one more? No problem. Come aboard. Come join us, please. Okay, so going back real quick, when we talked about pocket listings from a buyer's perspective, I had an ex-Compass agent tell me there was a property in his area that was being pushed through their exclusives. And by the time it was listed, there was like $150,000 difference in $150,000 less when it was listed than what it was being pushed at behind the scenes, which goes along with that lawsuit that I read before. The sellers were upset because they didn't realize that it sold for way less, but there was also a buyer on that Houlihan Lawrence that was quoted as saying they ended up paying like $125,000 more than what other homes were going for because they bought it through the brokerage before it was listed.
Okay, here's an interesting thing. Let's bring this up so people are aware. So it sounds like, I don't know in that situation if they went for a mortgage, but if they did, what happens with the mortgage and the appraiser is the lender has this black cloud of a system you allegedly go through. I know you have the whole issue with this. And so
the AMCs? Oh, yes.
The AMC. So it goes blindly through the AMC. And it's kind of because you can set up your own little systems and it's given out to Joe Schmo, the appraisal. Joe Schmo then gets the appraisal order and gets a copy of the agreement of sale. And this has been through the Appraisal Institute and their trade group, and they won't renege from it because they say, well, we need to know if there's any concessions, there's any repairs, but they know the price. So guess what? The appraisals normally come in at the sale price. Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Shocking.
When you go to refinance, the appraiser knows what you or the loan officer has put down as the value. So that's kind of the number you need. So the problem is appraisals can be swayed. They are not a definitive number based on facts only. There's opinion into the value.
And there's pressure for people that go through some of these AMCs to hit the number and not cause problems because they get a report card.
Which was the problem back in 2008. Right. And by the way, let me just say this. Everybody knows this. The appraisal problem was part of the issue with the 1% mortgages. And I still don't understand how Alan Greenspan didn't understand what the cost of funds index mortgage, that was a negative amortization. That was with 115% cap was going to be a freaking nightmare within a year or two. Alan Greenspan and whatever the guy was after him, they didn't realize this. That caused the crash. Okay, so with the appraisal thing, they would get to the number, and the AMCs were developed by the Attorney General of the state of New York at the time, Mr. Cuomo. And Mr. Cuomo pushed this, and he complained about mortgage brokers. Well, the fact was, this wasn't a mortgage brokerage outfit that was doing this. Was Washington Mutual Savings Bank. It was a bank, and these loan officers were pressuring them. But the reason that Cuomo wanted the AMCs created is because his wife owned an AMC.
Shocking.
Surprise!
Shocking.
Shocking!
Shocking.
Shocking! And so this AMC thing was developed, and also at the time, candidate and then President Obama was talking about and bitching about the mortgage brokers. And I was one of three people who actually met with the White House and said, you got to stop calling it mortgage brokers, change the word to mortgage originators, because
Mhm.
these guys were from the banks. And the
Right.
banks had no licensing, nothing. They just hired any schmo off the street.
Yep.
And we actually got it changed for the 2010 State of the Union address. So that's the one great
Look at
thing that I've
you.
done in the government is change one word in the State of the Union. So,
And
but
how
that's
many
the
years did that
origin of all
take?
these things.
How
Uh,
many years did that take?
a year of meetings, but they understood it. The guys who were in there and his, um, uh, I don't even know what position they were in. I guess assistant chief of staff or associate chief of
Right.
staff. Those guys, those are the people that really run the country. So Josh Lyman, if you want to give the West Wing reference,
West.
that kind of that kind of a
Right.
level. Um,
Well, what's
so
interesting too is damn, I'm going to go off track, but you talked
go
about
ahead.
people getting their loan officer license. I can't tell you at the end of last year how many agents told me that they were being recruited by
Mhm.
mortgage companies to get their 20-hour loan officer license so that they can refer their clients to this mortgage company and get paid for
And
it
get paid
without
as a loan
violating
officer.
RESPA.
Yeah,
And we even
I have
have,
both.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
full disclosure, I have both licenses.
But here's the thing about you,
So,
because I'm not a fan of that, but I looked you up, and of all the buyers that you work with, I think like 25% of them ended up closing with you. Or so,
yeah,
I look at if you have this, if more than half of your buyers are continuing to use you, that's my concern. Like if you're still encouraging people, I can help you. If not, shop around. That's something different to me.
right.
But the if you have a real estate agent who is not making a ton of money and they need to make some money this month, like are they going to be pressuring their client, "Hey, I also work for this bank. Let me help you." And literally all they're doing is having them fill out something from a link, and that's it. Like that's the purpose of all these new agreements,
Right.
which is
Well,
bullshit. Go ahead.
let me talk this out a little bit. So the story is like if you want to apply for a mortgage with me, I just send it to the website, you do the application. Myself and my processor, who's also licensed,
Mhm.
review the application, make sure everything's great. We throw it, we run the credit, we throw it into the Fannie Mae computer, we get it approved. You send in all your documents. Jen has does a great job doing this, looks at everything, sends it into the lender, and it's done. The rates are there live. You can pick the rates and say, hey, I
Mhm.
want to lock this. Um, and it's really that simple. So it's not as crazy and it's not as deep as it used to be. I mean, I literally would go out to people's houses and fill out 20 forms with them and
Mhm.
sit there and explain it. But the estimate of closing costs, it's pretty much all automated. But here's the thing. This test is not easy. It's not like the real estate agent test where there's barely any math. There's math on this. There's federal regulations that you got to know.
Yeah.
And I would guess, I don't know, 8 out of 10 agents can't pass this test, nowhere close to it. So, and banks will not just hire real estate agents; they can't.
Well, I don't think these
They,
are banks. They're
yeah, these are all
we
mortgage
called one
brokers
of
and
them.
lenders, and
I forget I forget their name, but we have a real estate agent that I really like called him and recorded it. And basically, I was like, ask him these questions. And she's like, well, listen, like, I'm busy. I don't really have a lot of work to do, but I'm interested in this. And he's like, all you need to do is have him fill out a link and we'll pay you. This is just a way to skirt RESPA and you'll get paid. You don't have to do anything else. Don't worry about it. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and I sent that to the CFPB. I was like, hey, you need to know this is on the rise. Like, you should be aware of this. And of course, they don't get back to me because they
Of
never
course.
do.
And the
They
U.S.
never do.
attorney is a little busy too. I
I
mean,
know they're all busy. I know, but like, damn it, I send you stuff all the time. Could you just respond once would be amazing. But yeah, I
we
don't know.
need a meeting with CFPB,
I
like
just like a, I mean,
if they still exist, because Elon's trying to
yeah,
get rid of them, of course.
right. Which I, damn it, here I'm going to get off track again. The whole CFPB thing. There was a whole thing on Joe Rogan, right, about how people are getting debanked. That if you listen to it, he said it was like 30 people within the past 4 years, mostly involved in crypto. And I'm not saying this can't happen. Like, maybe it did, but like, he went on to say there's no proof. Like, we can't prove it, but if we trace the phone calls, we know it was the CFPB. But like, I'm sure to a degree, banks are scared about liability of having a crypto founder running all their money through their bank. Like, I'm sure there's a degree to part of that. But what I also want to say is that that same guy that was on Joe Rogan bashing the CFPB, at least one of his companies got in trouble with the CFPB for misleading consumers with false advertising and taking advantage of consumers. So,
Shocking.
yeah,
And
so
the
it's like,
political spin comes out to go the other way. I mean, it's
right, yeah, no,
just
yeah, so right, that comes out, and then all of a sudden, everyone's like, "You should defund the CFPB," and I'm like, "You don't understand. An individual trying to take on JP Morgan, trying to take on a giant, well-funded company will never win. That's part of the CFPB, is to stand up for those individual people or individual groups, to stand up for them against these giant ass companies that have more money than God and will drag you through the court system until you have no more money left and nothing will get accomplished. Like, their whole point is to help protect consumers, and they're getting totally bashed, and it really bothers me. So I just wanted to make that clear. I don't know. I can't speak to the debanking, but I can speak to the fact that most of the people bashing them have had ties to companies that have gotten in trouble by the CFPB, and it seems a little more personal. I'm sorry. That's my rant. End rant. Because I
agreed.
see it, I see it on Twitter, and I'm like, I really don't like, or X. I really don't like X. I'm not on there a lot. I feel like it's very bro finance culture. And like, all weekend long, I was like, man, I really want to post about the CFPB, but
Go on Blue Sky.
you
Have
know
you
what?
been
I
on there
just
yet?
made an account there. I have no idea if I'm
Good.
going to stay there. But yeah, it seems a little more healthy there. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's less bro finance culture. But anyway, so that was my little rant on the CFPB. So, all right, we talked about dual agency, pocket listings. I want to go to agreements, because if there's one thing that I think has improved post lawsuit, it was the buyer agreements that have been shoved in consumers' faces. Not necessarily how or when they have to sign one, but the actual meat of these agreements pre-lawsuit were like atrocious. Some of them are still pretty awful, but I don't think anything would have changed with those agreements if it wasn't for this lawsuit. What are your 2 cents?
Well, I'll start in California where I do most of my business. So the agreement that they had pre-lawsuit said, either non-exclusive or exclusive. They had two separate forms.
Mhm.
That's a big thing. You don't want to go out on your first date and get married that night. That's what an
Right.
exclusive agreement is. Don't ever sign an exclusive agreement. Period. Done. End of sentence. There's no reason to. So with the non-exclusive agreement, it says, the amount of compensation, and we put our fixed fee.
Mhm.
And it also says that if
Oh,
there is
go
any
back,
other,
go back 1 second. When
yeah,
you say a fixed fee, it's your flat fee. Because I
flat fee,
saw someone
flat
come after
fixed.
you like, well, you're not negotiable. And it's like, good Lord, I need to explain this. When you see commissions are negotiable in your agreement, because legally they have to put it there,
Mhm.
reason that is in there is more for, at least on the listing side, because agents were telling home sellers what they need to be offering to the other side. Companies are allowed to have a set price for their specific company. The
Right,
lawsuits were more about these companies telling their clients what they should be paying their competitor. And if they don't, no one will see your home. And that's
right.
how everyone ended up making the same, almost, for buy side
But
commission, being offered the
but
same.
also I
Like in
know,
Minnesota, it's like 2.7%, was like
yeah.
90 some percent of the properties were offering. So it's stupid. But anyways, go ahead.
Both conspiracy. Anyway, yeah. So we have our flat fixed fee,
Hey.
whatever you want to call it, and that's what we charge everybody. And we have it as based on the price ranges that we're in. We think it's ridiculously fair price for what we give. And there's agents out there who tell you they're at 3%, but then people try to get them down to 2.5 or 2 or whatever. Yeah, that's negotiable, and you can
Mhm.
try. But there are still brokerages that have minimum commissions of 2.5% of the sale price, which is insane.
Mhm.
Um, so back to what we were talking about. The agreement itself, it's got the fixed fee, but it also allows in the old agreement for any rebates of any excessive buyer broker fee over that 97.50. In the new agreement, there's not a single mention of it.
Right. But
So
to be
I'm
fair,
still using the old agreement.
on the listing side, though, on the listing side, didn't they remove
Yeah.
buyer broker offers of compensation? Right. On California.
Yes, they
Okay.
did.
Yeah. So if you're listing your
But
home, they actually don't have you put a number on a form.
but
Right.
I am sure there are companies out there with
Oh, sure. Shit,
addendums
they
to
are.
that.
There absolutely are. But so that's, and I think that's interesting because I'm putting something out this week about buyer rebates and how like there were 9 states that did not allow buyer rebates, right? So like if someone's putting out $35,000 in commission and you charge 9 something, you were able to rebate the buyer in closing costs or however you did it,
Mhm.
that difference, right? But in 9 states, that was deemed illegal for whatever stupid lobbying reasons possible. And so, at least with this new settlement, buyers in those 9 states might actually have a chance to actually negotiate commissions because most of the agreements pre-lawsuit were like, hey, I expect to make up to 3% or 3%, but if I'm offered more than that, I get to keep that too. Like that was the standard language in these agreements was
Mhm.
what I want to make, and if there's bonuses, I get that too. Like there's
Yeah.
no like
He-
conversation about it.
he-
It's just I'm keeping it.
Here's one of the great things we're able to do for our clients. So, we're dealing in million, $2 million houses. So let's say we got a $2 million house and there's 10 offers, and all 10 offers are for $2 million. But every 9 out of the 10 are asking for 2.5% buyer broker fee, even though, and it's because it's being offered.
Mhm.
Okay. But what we say is, hey, buyer, pay us the 97.50 and let's not take a dime of the buyer broker fee. So now you're ahead by $50,000. And guess who wins the agreement?
Right.
We do.
Right.
And here's another thing on top of that. We want the lower price because the real estate taxes get reassessed after every sale and they're based on the sale price, basically. So you're saving that much money. And if we get into a situation where, in a separate situation where we're lowering the sale price by the buyer broker fee, um, you are then have a lower sale price and you also have a lower mortgage amount, which means you pay a lot less interest. So,
Mhm.
I mean, you can be saving hundreds of thousands of dollars by doing it this way. But no, they want to keep the status quo. They want to establish the fact that 2.5% is normal and that everybody's doing it and everybody charges the same. It's called a conspiracy. It's called price fixing. It is so illegal, but that's all they know. They can't,
Right.
that's why you'll get these things of my worth and I'm able to do this and I can look at a disclosure and I can do, everybody can do the same thing. There's
Right.
nothing really different between brokerages on what you do within helping a client
Yeah.
looking at a
And
house.
I think what's hard too is, and I get this all the time, like you're bashing AIDS and you're this and that. And I'm like, the problem is there's very little training for some of these brokerages, even down to how they're handling the settlement. There are people that are talking about how their broker thinks the lawsuit was a bullshit thing, and he's not showing homes unless he knows what commission's being offered up front. And so that's the broker. And this poor agent is like, I know that's not right, but this guy like is the biggest brokerage in my little city. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, if I leave, he's like, they're all mad at me because I'm trying to follow the settlement, and he thinks that's stupid. So I think it's hard because there are basically three groups of agents right now, like and brokers that want to evolve and look at this settlement as a positive and make the changes. There's people that are like, this settlement's bullshit. I can't believe I can't make bonuses anymore. This is awful. And then there's people who maybe just aren't being instructed correctly. Like, and they're not necessarily bad, but they're not being advised and they have no clue what they're doing. And they're just kind of there, you know?
Oh, yeah. I had this one agent. I've been in the business 15 years. Well, she sends me a contract that is so piss poor. I mean, there's stuff missing. One of the big things that was missing is she remembered to check off that attached is the buyer broker form so that
To
you know
request
what we're
compensation.
paying.
Yeah.
Yeah, request for compensation and her buyer's agreement showing what the buyer signed as his amount of compensation, it was blank.
Mhm.
So it's like I would have loved to have gone to closing with this woman and not paid her a dime. Well,
Yep.
your buyer broker thing is blank. We can't pay her.
Yeah. What
So they're
exactly
so
am I
smart.
supposed to
They're
be paying
stupid.
you?
You know what? And it's going back to when I said, "Hey, go talk to Keller Williams or somebody about becoming an agent." And the other thing that people don't know is all these franchises have in their contracts, you have to hire X number of people per quarter, or you could lose your franchise. Well, that's why every somebody in the nail salon and your plumber, everybody's got a license because getting a license is sort of kind of easy. And then they sit there, but they're not trained. They don't know
Mhm.
what to do. They don't care. These agents, oh, I'm just showing agent and I show my property and this is lovely and blah, 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 blah. And we're negotiating hard. It's like they're idiots. They're just idiots. I'm sorry to be so blunt, but I'm old. I
No,
got
but
gray
I
hair, and it's just I see so
no,
it's so frustrating.
but I think it's important that consumers understand that like there's certainly not everyone is created equal and not everyone is doing things what I think is the right way, and what the DOJ and the lawsuit thinks is the right way. So
Mm.
it's so important that you actually interview these people and ask the questions. And one of my favorite questions I think they should be asking is, hey, what happens if the home isn't offering buyer compensation upfront? Because the answer should be we go look at the home anyways and we negotiate in the offer. Unfortunately, there are some brokerages that are putting it in their buyer agreements that we can just skip homes if we can't get an answer of commission upfront. Like literally,
Unbelievable.
and this
Just pathetic.
and the agent that sent me this, she's like, well, it's approved by our state. And it very clearly says in section 21 in Colorado, anything listed in this section is not state approved. And then she's like, oh, well, I guess maybe Coldwell Banker must have added this. And I was like, well, obviously, because if you didn't do it and the state didn't do it, your brokerage did. So just be really careful, like what you're reading, what you're agreeing to, and who you're working with, because there are some great people out there. There are some great people that have good strategies that can like really negotiate and help you navigate this. But then there's people who just don't want anything to change and will
Right.
eventually hurt you in the long run.
Here's a couple things that I've told people. Number one, when you're interviewing someone, say, I'd like to see the last three offers that you made, the first offer, and I'd like to see a copy of those contracts to see if they know how to fill out the contract. The
Mhm.
other thing is you want to ask them, are you going to go around to open houses with us? And someone will say, oh, yeah, 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 I'll be there all the time. That's the last agent you want because they're just going to be with you all the time and all the push you and just they're there to just push you and push you. Like our model is pretty simple. You go out to open houses, great. We're not going to go with you. I mean, it's silly, but if you're interested in something, we'll get deeply involved in the particular property you're really interested in. Either
Mhm.
go see it or we can have a private showing, send an agent open the door. We do video chats with people and it works. It works fine because we're not just sniffing after you like a hound dog. So
Mhm.
you got to understand the competency of these people to perform the actual duties and the fact that how do they actually work in their brokerage model of seeing houses because that's really 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 important. You don't need these people to follow you around and show your houses. You know where the kitchen is. you know and most of these houses are all pretty much generic and clean and whatever.
Right.
And if there's problems, you're going to know in the disclosures, you're going to know in the inspections. And the professionals are the ones that have to deal with
Right.
that kind of stuff, not the agent. Oh, don't worry about that. Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what maybe some agents are missing is like in today's world, it's not necessarily about you finding me the home. It's more about, I like the home. What are we doing now? Like, what's the strategy? How are we going to
Exactly.
negotiate? What are the sales like around here? What are the comps? What do you think I should offer? How should we do this? And that's where you want someone strong in their assets, not someone
Right.
that will
That's
walk
more
around with
important.
you and
Yeah,
and point some
exactly.
stuff out. Like you really need, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of some agents are missing that. Like, stop
Well, it's the
saying,
old way of doing it.
right.
And
Well,
they don't
it's
know any
that
different.
it's the phrasing of like, well, I'm bringing the buyer, and it's like you're not bringing the buyer. Like you and the buyer have a working relationship. You and the seller do not. You and the listing agent do not. Like you're not working for any of them if you have an exclusive agreement with your buyer. So don't tell me you're bringing the buyer. Like you should be telling the buyer all the things you're going to do for them. Don't be online saying I'm important because I'm bringing you the buyer. No, like you're representing them in a deal. You're not telling them which homes they should go to. You might be telling them which homes
Exactly.
not to go to if you're having them sign some stupid clause in your agreement to skip homes based on commission, which like best of luck to you with the Department of Justice because I sent that agreement over to them. They don't ever just like the CFPB,
Oh,
they don't respond to me, but I'm like,
oh,
"Hey,
and
do you know they're doing this?"
by the way, I sent this. I questioned. I was on my MLS that she was in, and it was an online chat. And I asked them, "Hey, I have this situation. What do I do?" They said, "Okay, email to find out what to do to compliance at." I've never heard back from compliance at yet,
Yep.
so they're not even policing it. So
Yeah,
it's
and
just
so let's just go to the DOJ because that was my next list. So what I find really interesting is that after this lawsuit, a lot of people are saying, well, with the new administration, the Department of Justice is going to get blown up and everything will go away. Like Donald Trump is not going to reverse a settlement that was just approved by a judge. It's not going to
it
happen.
can't.
Like,
It
no,
can't.
it's not. It's
Yeah.
a private settlement that was just finally approved. Like, it's not going to
And
happen.
it's state to state.
Yeah,
It's
it's
by the
gonna,
states the
correct,
licenses,
correct.
not
Yeah.
national.
So the NAR settlement is done, right? Like move on. It's happening, accept it, change. But what I find interesting is these people hate the Department of Justice, but do not realize that the Department of Justice and the National Association of Realtors have been battling for like longer than I have been alive. And Rob Hahn has
Hmm.
done some great articles about it that I can attach to this episode if people want to read it. So even if the administration changes, like that doesn't make all of this go away. And there is theories that the Department of Justice, whatever they could be working on, will likely make some noise before things change to at least get things moving. But like it doesn't go away. It might slow down for 4 years, but it doesn't just go away. So I
Well,
think, but
one thing we forgot to talk about, and we definitely wrote down, was the Batten lawsuit.
oh yeah. Okay. All right. So the DOJ is not going away. They might slow down. Blah blah blah. Skip to the next one.
But
Lawsuits. So the Sitzer lawsuit was based on home sellers having to feel like they have to pay a certain amount that ended up being a certain amount for everybody, that everyone got paid the same almost for the buy side commission. The Batten lawsuit is the reverse, right? It's almost it's the perspective of this lawsuit, but from the buyers. And it has been around for how long? I forget what year it came out.
yeah, it's a couple years ago at
It's been
least.
plugging along, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
and I think people need to understand that too. These antitrust lawsuits are like 5, 6, 7 year long battles. They're not something quick. So this one has been around for a while, and you're probably more versed on the Batten one than I am. So if you want to give a
Well,
synopsis.
basically, it was buyers saying, "Hey, we were forced to pay these commissions that we didn't even know about that was in the value of the house." So it used to be when you go and buy a house, "Hi, I'll be your agent," and "Oh, don't worry, the seller pays me." The line of "Don't worry, the seller pays me"
Yeah,
is the
I'm
basis
free.
of the Batten lawsuit. So I paid, you ended up getting 3% of the sale price. Well, the seller paid it, which means the buyer paid it in the price of the house. So these people were forced to pay this without even knowing what they were paying. That's
Mhm.
the whole thing of the Batten lawsuit. And believe me, when that comes down and the Goldstein comes down, It's going to be a whole different world.
Yeah. I just, it'll be interesting though, because can you basically, the Sitzer one was saying the sellers were paying, but the Batten one is saying the buyers were paying. So like there's two different theories. But
Well, the sellers were forced to offer. I don't think
right.
seller
And it
paid,
was
forced
built
to
and
offer.
forced to offer,
This
correct.
is you had to pay this
Right.
because it was buried into the price without your
Right.
knowledge of what it was.
And it's
It
interesting
was
too, because like people fight about this all the time, like who's really paying commissions, and it like, and this might be stupid, but in my perspective, it's like the chicken or the egg, right? Like if it's, you need the buyer's money to be able to pay for everybody, which is financed, but then the seller's walking away with less equity from the deal because they had to pay out people. So technically, like I could see both sides to this. I'm kind of just in the middle. I guess I can see both perspectives, but I'm assuming the NAR settlement does not remove them from the Batten lawsuit.
nope. It's got
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. So the bottom line is, when this all shakes down, I think what's going to happen is no more dual. What we kind of like to see is no more dual agency, and you have a buyer broker if you want one, and you're going to pay them a negotiated fee, and you can bury that fee into the sale price by negotiating it with the seller. That's really it. It's that simple.
And
But
that's kind of
everybody's,
what the
oh,
Department of Justice wanted, was like, just let the
exactly.
negotiations happen between the seller and the buyer. And I think it's worth mentioning, like, there are some states that don't allow dual agency, but like Texas has like an intermediary status, which sounds
Yeah,
pretty much the
Florida's
same.
got something like that
Florida's
too.
like that,
Yeah.
which I had asked yesterday. So Florida, you have what, a transactional agent or an
Mhm.
exclusive agent. The exclusive one is supposed to have more fiduciary duty and like representing you, blah, blah, blah. But for all these years, it's kind of been transaction agents are the default. So have buyers and sellers been paying fiduciary level fees for transactional service all these years? That's
Pretty
probably
much.
that's probably a loaded question, but like, so now, is there no price difference between an exclusive agency agreement and a transactional agent?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's crazy.
I don't know. I've asked someone that yesterday and they're like, well, I don't really know if anyone really understands the difference. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I would think
On
someone,
purpose.
yeah. And I'm like, well, is everyone paying for these services they think they're getting, but they were actually getting something much less, legally speaking,
Right. And then they
in
can go
Florida?
back to, hey, we were just a transactional agent. We didn't,
Right.
have any
Right. But
responsibility for
you were
that.
being paid
Like a
regardless
full
if you were,
service,
yeah, but you're
whatever.
being,
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that Consumer Fed did a report on that a while ago. I need to go look it up. And again, damn it, I'm off track. But that came up yesterday on LinkedIn. So I wanted to ask you about that because I know, the agency relationships, whether dual agency or not is allowed, they just flipped it. And it's like, well, there's designated agency or intermediary or transactionary. And it's like, that's still, the broker's still the the same person on
Responsible.
each side. Right,
Yeah.
right. But there's still issues with it. And it's funny, there was only one agreement that I saw that our whole group saw, because there was a big group of us that were just like spending the past year looking at agreements. And I think it was New Mexico addressed dual agency and gave super clear options like, hey, if dual agency arises and you don't want to participate, you can um, walk away from this contract, or B, have the broker assign you to a different broker for this offer or for this
So
deal.
it's designated agency.
Well, no, so it would be a different
That's
broker.
what's called designated. When you
So
just have
designated
two
is two
different
different.
people within one brokerage.
No, no, no. This would be the broker. Like they would say, you completely walk away from your contract with the broker and you work with a totally different broker. So
Oh,
like,
okay.
so
Yeah.
so in New Mexico, it was like you say I'm working with Coldwell Banker, and I don't want to do dual agency. I can go leave that and go work with an EXP agent to get the deal done if I
Got it.
wanted to make an offer on that house. They were the only ones I saw that even like gave some options to address it, because some of the other ones were like, hey, if you don't agree to dual a designated agency, we just won't show you any homes that we have for a listing. And it's like, wait a minute, like you can't hold that against them if they want their own representation to say, I'm not going to show you these homes. Like it just, so hopefully those are getting
That's
better. in these agreements, but you got to be careful. Dual agency, designated, intermediary, transaction. Like you really should know what you're signing up for, and what does not become included with that service, pretty much. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's wrap it up because we've been yapping for quite some time. So one thing that you think people should know going into 2025, besides dual agencies, garbage, pocket listings aren't really a great benefit to consumers. Agreements have gotten better, but they could use some work. The Department of Justice is not disappearing. Hopefully the CFPB isn't, but if they could write me back to any of my emails, I'd appreciate it before they do. And there's more lawsuits in the pipeline that aren't going to go away. What did we miss?
You just when you're interviewing agents, I had mentioned this earlier, ask them ridiculously detailed questions like show me the last three initial offers you made. Why are you worth this money? And if you hear the same thing that you heard from anybody else, and by the way, go take a Tom Ferry course for a couple $100. And you'll hear what they're going to say to you because they got these coaches. Those are the people that are really dying because they don't know what to say. So they come up with hyperbole and fancy words of which most agents don't even know what they mean. So it's just be careful out there, kids. Just
what a great way to what a nice way to end it. Best of luck to you. Best of luck. Don't get screwed over, please. Or if you're not sure if you are, you can reach out to us because we will tell you. I'll be happy to tell you. Or I'll find someone
Wendy's
to
not
help
an
you.
agent. She has no skin in the game
sit on the outside
as a consumer. Right. She's the greatest.
I'm just hanging out in the consumer advocacy world, getting shitty emails from people that don't like what I say, and hanging out with consumers. It's been a good time.
Have a story or a question you want to share? Hit us up at therealestatereplay.com.